Hey, what's up guys? It's Oshreds here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the most used exotic weapons in PvE in Season of the Splicer. With the season coming to an end, I figured I would make a video showing the most used exotics this past season. All of this data can be found over at destinytracker.com. We're going to be taking a look at usage and kills and see how those two variables are tied together. Some weapons may have a high percentage of kills compared to usage because the weapon is just an ad clear gun, and conversely, some weapons have a high usage rate but low kill rate due to the nature of the weapon itself. First on the list, in the number 5 spot, is the combat bow Trinity Ghoul. Now, Trinity Ghoul has made its rounds as to becoming a more used exotic within Destiny. When it originally came out, this thing was not that good. It required you to get a headshot kill to proc the lightning rod perk on it, which allowed for you to be able to clear ads easily. All that is required for you to proc lightning rod is for you to get an arc final blow. Since this bow is arc and lightning rod chains arc damage, every single kill will continue to trigger lightning rod, creating a very efficient ad clear weapon. It makes sense that this weapon is up here because it's very beneficial in almost any activity you do. The sheer amount of crowd control this bow provides is impeccable. As well, there was an AFK farm that was brought more mainstream this season that people use, and that was within the Shattered Throne dungeon. You would be able to use a macro to farm kills, and this was the weapon that people would use for that. Make sure to get the catalyst for Trinity Ghoul if you do not have it yet. Moving on. From there, in the number 4 spot is the Lament. The Lament was brought into the game with Beyond Light and has become a very popular sword amongst the player base. This stems from the fact that it was used in the Deepstone Crypt raid to absolutely melt Aatrax, but as well, there was a bug in the past that allowed it to do normal heavy attack damage without having any ammo. But even now, in Season of the Splicer, this sword is still great. The damage potential is still very strong, and the anti-barrier intrinsic trait on it is still useful. Using the revved up swings, multiplying that with 3 normal attacks and then a heavy attack, this sword deals out an insane amount of damage very quickly, which makes it a superb burst damage weapon. Not to mention, this thing also heals you, so if you find yourself in a dire situation with low health, just start blocking and start swinging. For a sword, this thing is super versatile, and it makes sense as to why it's still so high up on this list. Enough with the Lament though. In the number 3 spot is Witherhoard. Coming out in Season of Arrivals, Witherhoard had a bit of a rough start. At the time, special grenade launchers weren't that useful outside of the mountaintop, so no one was really looking into it. But as Bungie has been shifting the meta to more special grenade launchers, blinding grenades, this thing has made a push. With the fact that it shoots out a taken blight that covers a small area, Witherhoard is insanely good at ad clear, and even then, you can still stick an enemy, and as long as they die, the blight will drop to the ground and become a pool as well, which will then do damage to any ads within it. Since this season came with the Vault of Glass raid, and with the ads in that raid coming out of doorways in many of the encounters, it makes sense that this exotic has been used quite a lot this season. Just shoot a shot down in front of the spawn locations and watch all the ads drop. It's become one of the kings in ad clear, and with no doubt in my mind will continue to be as long as the spawning mechanics for ads stay like this going forward. Next, in the number 2 spot, we have the Xenophage. This weapon made its debut almost 2 years ago in Shadowkeep and is still going strong. Back then, this thing was garbage. It did not do much damage to bosses, and with the low ammo count, it did not serve the same purpose as most machine guns do within the game. But after a buff to it, it became more useful. Any place that doesn't require crit damage or has a difficult crit spot to shoot, this thing is good for. Looking at something like the Deepstone Crypt's first encounter or both bosses within the Garden of Salvation raid. Now, since those things are older activities, you may wonder, well, why does Xenophage still have high use percentage? Well, that's because within the Vault of Glass raid, this weapon has become the go-to in terms of wiping out the oracles within the oracle's encounter. For the oracles, you need something that does a quick burst of damage, and since crit damage does not affect the oracles, the Xenophage does the trick and is the best for it. It's a no-brainer that Xeno's still up here on the list. And lastly, in the number 1 spot, the exotic we've all been waiting for, and we all know it was coming, Anarchy. Does this thing really need that much explaining? It's the most versatile all-around weapon in the game by far. For boss DPS, its tick damage does really good. And because of the way the weapon works, you're able to transfer over and use a special weapon or even primary weapon while the ticks of damage are going off, essentially allowing you to almost double your damage compared to just being stuck having to shoot a heavy. With the way the grenades stick to any surface, Anarchy is a beast in terms of crowd control and ad clear as well. Just stick some shots around an area where ads are going to be and watch them fry. Anarchy has been a menace for pretty well almost all the time it has been a thing. With the shift away from auto-loading barriers and wells at the end of Shadowkeep, people started to realize its true potential. Now don't expect to see Anarchy still up in the #1 spot next season, as some of you probably already know, this thing is going to be nerfed. But as of the date of release on this video, Bungie still hasn't stated what exactly they're going to do to nerf the gun, so I guess we'll find out soon enough. But that does it. The top 5 PvE weapons in the Season of the Splicer: Trinity Ghoul, Lament, Wither Horde, Xenophage, and Anarchy. I hope this video has shown a glimpse into the meta in terms of exotics seen in PvE this season, and remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed.